There are 10 major national political parties in Japan, each with its own unique history and political stance. In this video, we'll explore each party's background, parliamentary influence, and key positions on 8 important policy areas. You'll get a comprehensive, yet concise overview with roughly 2 to 3 minutes dedicated to each party. The Liberal Democratic Party, or Jiminto, was founded in 1955 to unify conservative forces and counter the growing influence of the Socialist Party. Since then, the LDP has been the dominant and longest ruling political party in Japan, losing power only twice, in 1993 and 2009, for a total of about 4 years. The party is generally classified as center-right and functions as a catch-all party, with members ranging from right-leaning to centrist. For example, Shinzo Abe leaned conservative, while Shigeru Ishiba is considered more liberal. The LDP remains the largest party in the national diet, but currently lacks a majority on its own. Historically, it has relied on a coalition with Komeito to maintain a majority, though the coalition now hovers close to the threshold. The party advocates for constitutional revision to clarify the role of the self-defense forces and to introduce emergency powers. Economically, its slogan is growth and distribution, though its concrete policies tend to focus on narrower goals like lowering utility costs and investing in IT and digital transformation. The LDP is expanding defense spending towards 2% of GDP by 2027, a significant increase from the traditional 1% cap. Prime Minister Ishiba has also expressed interest in establishing an Asian NATO, though this remains a lower priority discussion topic. The LDP reinterpreted Japan's constitution to allow for collective security and have strengthened military relations with Quad members while beginning to provide official security assistance to South Asian countries. On social issues, the party has been slow to support greater rights for sexual and gender minorities and married women retaining their maiden names. In terms of energy policy, the LDP is more supportive of restarting nuclear power plants. Although conservative, the party has gradually accepted greater numbers of foreign workers. Diplomatically, it prioritizes strong ties with the United States while seeking stable relations with China. Despite repeated pledges to promote clean governance, the LDP has been marred by multiple political scandals. The Constitutional Democratic Party, or Rikken Minshuto, is the largest opposition party in Japan. The party's history is a bit complex, so here's a simplified version. In the 1990s, the Democratic Party of Japan was founded with the goal of countering the dominance of the LDP. In 2009, the DPJ won the parliamentary elections and took power, but they lost it again in 2012. The party struggled for several years, and in 2016, they rebranded as the Democratic Party. This marked a turning point, as the party split, leading to the formation of the Constitutional Democratic Party. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party renamed itself as the Democratic Party for the People. Due to internal disagreements, members dissatisfied with the DPP joined the CDP. In September 2020, both the CDP and DPP were re-established as new versions of their respective parties. The CDP is generally classified as center-left, and most of its policies oppose those of the LDP. The CDP believes the Constitution does not need to be revised, and any necessary changes can be made through legislation. For example, the CDP argues that there is no need to amend Article 9 to explicitly include the self-defense forces. On economic policy, the CDP advocates for the GLLD policy, which stands for Green, Life, Local, and Digital. They support policies that would distribute more wealth to the general population, focusing on sustainable growth. Regarding defense, the CDP maintains that Japan's security should continue to rely on the US-Japan Security Treaty, but favors a defensive military posture rather than an offensive one. They believe increasing military spending to 2% of GDP is unnecessary. The CDP is supportive of sexual and gender minorities and advocates for expanding women's rights, including allowing married women to retain their maiden name. On energy policy, the CDP supports a 100% carbon-neutral energy mix by 2050, which would not rely on fossil fuels or nuclear power. In terms of immigration, the CDP's stance is similar to the LDP's, with both parties supporting immigration policies. The CDP also shares a similar diplomatic vision to the LDP, but it proposes establishing a dedicated minister for human rights. Finally, the CDP seeks to promote gender equality by introducing a quota system to ensure a 50-50 gender balance in political representation. They also aim to restore public trust in politics by requiring full disclosure of political activities and funds online, as well as cracking down on slush funds and illegal political financing. The Japan Innovation Party, or Nihon Ishinno Kai, is currently the second largest opposition party in Japan. The party began as a regional force in 2010 and won the Osaka Prefectural Assembly elections in 2011. Their success in Osaka allowed them to form a national party, initially called the Japan Restoration Party. The party later rebranded as the Japan Innovation Party. In the 2021 general election, they became the third largest party in the House of Representatives. Recently, the Free Education for All Party, consisting of 4 politicians who left the Democratic Party for the People, merged with the JIP. The JIP advocates for constitutional revision, including amending Article 9 to officially recognize the self-defense forces and adding emergency powers. They also seek to revise Article 26, which guarantees the right to education, to ensure that no one is denied higher education due to economic hardship. Economically, the party is pro-market, calling for deregulation, across-the-board tax reductions, and reducing government debt. On defense, they support strengthening Japan's military capabilities and favor the government's plan to increase defense spending to 2% of GDP. Socially, the JIP and CDP align on issues such as sexual and gender minority rights and women's rights. On energy, the party supports restarting nuclear power plants while also promoting investment in renewable energy. Regarding immigration, they support the acceptance of foreign workers to address labor shortages, but emphasize assimilation policies. Diplomatically, they prioritize strong US-Japan ties and call for a firmer stance towards China and North Korea. The JIP also emphasizes government reform, including reducing the number of Diet members, cutting political costs, and pursuing regional decentralization through federalism. The Democratic Party for the People, or Kokumin Minchuto, is currently the third largest opposition party in Japan. As mentioned earlier, the DPP and CDP were originally part of the same political lineage, but they split due to internal disagreements. If the CDP represents the center-left faction, the DPP leans center-right, though supports a number of progressive policies. As of early 2025, the DPP has gained traction among younger voters. In the October 2024 general election, the DPP saw a 138% increase in votes, the highest growth rate among all parties. The DPP stance on constitutional reform aligns closely with the Japan Innovation Party. It supports revisions such as the establishment of emergency powers and a constitutional court. The party also emphasizes updating the constitution to reflect modern values, including digital privacy rights and same-sex marriage protections. On Article 9, the DPP argues for clarifying the scope of Japan's military operations while maintaining a defensive posture in line with the Constitution. Economically, the DPP advocates lowering the consumption tax to 5% and raising the tax deduction threshold from 1.03 million to 1.78 million yen. They position themselves as the party most focused on protecting household income, arguing that emphasizing wealth distribution is the best way to promote population stability. In terms of defense, the DPP supports increased spending to strengthen Japan's capabilities, while emphasizing transparency and limits to avoid an overly aggressive stance. Socially, the DPP shares common ground with the CDP and the JIP on supporting gender equality and rights for sexual minorities. On energy, the DPP favors a gradual move away from nuclear power towards renewables. For immigration, the party supports foreign labor to address workforce shortage. Diplomatically, they prioritize strong US-Japan ties and support human rights initiatives. Regarding governance reform, the DPP calls for greater transparency and accountability in political funding and operations. The Komeito, formerly known as the Clean Government Party, was founded in 1964 by members of Soka Gakkai, a lay Buddhist organization affiliated with Nichiren Buddhism. Due to concerns over the separation of religion and politics, The party and Soka Gakkai formally separated in later years, although ties remain. Komeito achieved significant success in the 1965 and 1967 election, becoming the third largest party after the Liberal Democratic Party and the Japan Socialist Party. The Komeito opposed the LDP, so the Komeito joined the anti-LDP coalition government in 1993. After that coalition collapsed, the party restructured and re-established itself as the new Komeito in 1998. Since 1999, it has been in a stable coalition with the LDP, often serving as a moderating influence. As of the October 2024 lower house election, Komeito holds fewer seats than the Democratic Party for the People. Based on its policies, the Komei party can be categorized as center-left. However, due to its long-standing coalition with the LDP, it often operates in a more center-right capacity. The party describes itself as a party of peace. On constitutional issues, Komeito is cautious. While open to adding provisions to the Constitution if necessary, it remains generally hesitant to revise Article 9 or introduce emergency powers. Any constitutional amendments, in their view, require careful and broad public discussion. On economic policy, Komeito shares several positions with the LDP but places greater emphasis on wealth distribution. For instance, while the LDP has been reluctant to lower the consumption tax or revise the spousal tax deduction threshold, Komeito has actively supported these changes, even when in a coalition. The party supports maintaining Japan's exclusively defensive military posture. Socially, Komeito aligns with opposition parties on some progressive issues, such as women's rights and allowing married couples to retain separate surnames. On energy, Komeito aims for a carbon-neutral society by 2050, intending to make renewable energy Japan's primary energy source by 2040. They support reducing nuclear energy to around 20% and oppose the construction of new nuclear power plants. The party also advocates for better support systems for foreign residents. Diplomatically, Komeito supports strong US-Japan relations, opposes nuclear weapons, and promotes peace-oriented diplomacy. Notably, it has supported normalized relations with China since 1968 and maintains ongoing communications with Chinese leaders. Komeito is also proactive about political reform. On December 10, 2024, it submitted a joint bill with the DPP to establish an independent oversight agency for political funds, surprising many observers and highlighting its commitment to transparency and accountability. The Reiwa Shinsengumi is a left-leaning political party in Japan, and to understand it fully, we must first look at its founder, Taro Yamamoto. Originally an actor, Yamamoto began his career in 1991 and transitioned into politics following the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011. He became active in anti-nuclear movements and, in 2013, successfully ran as an independent candidate for Japan's upper house. In 2014, he joined the People's Life Party, a splinter group of the former Democratic Party of Japan. The party was later renamed the Liberal Party, with Yamamoto becoming a co-leader. In 2019, as the Liberal Party prepared to merge with the Democratic Party for the People, Yamamoto declined to join the new entity. Instead, he founded his own party, Reiwa Shinsengumi. While still a small party, it has built a strong following among younger voters. In the October 2024 general election, Reiwa increased its vote count by 71%, the second highest growth rate among all parties. On constitutional issues, the party is firmly against any amendments. It believes Japan's post-war constitution should be preserved as it is. Economically, Reiwa supports bold, expansionary policies. The party argues that because Japan's national debt is mostly owned to itself, the government can afford to spend more by issuing money. They propose abolishing the consumption tax altogether and instead investing heavily in public services and green infrastructure. A key part of this agenda is the Reiwa Green New Deal, which promises to create 2.5 million jobs and transition Japan to 100% renewable energy by 2050. To achieve this, the party calls for an investment of 200 trillion yen in the green sector. On social issues, Reiwa supports free education, gender equality, and LGBTQ rights. They also emphasize better treatment of foreign residents. Rather than simply managing them, Reiwa believes Japan should protect their rights. The party has proposed creating a Foreign Residence Representative Council so that non-citizens can voice their concerns directly. In foreign policy, Reiwa advocates for a more equal and independent relationship with the United States. The party believes Japan should take a firmer stance in its dealings with America to better serve its own national interests. When it comes to political reform, Reiwa calls for the ban on corporate political donations and an end to interest-driven policymaking. Their goal is to reduce the influence of money in politics and return power to ordinary citizens. The Japan Communist Party is Japan's oldest political party, founded in 1922. It won seats in Japan's first post-war election in 1946 and gained further ground in 1949, though it remained a marginalized force throughout much of the Cold War. In the 1960s, the JCP distanced itself from both the Soviet Union and China, positioning itself as an independent and democratic socialist party. In fact, the JCP has strongly criticized the Chinese Communist Party, citing its human rights violations and authoritarian governance. The party's biggest breakthrough came in the 1972 general election, where it won 38 seats and 10.5% of the national vote, its highest ever share in a general election. This marked a turning point, boosting its visibility and legitimacy as a serious opposition force. While it continued to perform reasonably well in the 1970s, it remained largely outside of the broader opposition coalitions. Despite its name, the JCP today is not revolutionary or authoritarian. Its platform resembles that of a progressive left-wing party, opposing war, defending constitutional pacifism, promoting social equality, and opposing neoliberal economic reforms. The party runs its own newspaper, Shimbun Akahata, which notably exposed the LDP's 2023 slush fund scandal, contributing to the LDP's current decline. Like Reiwa, the JCP strongly opposes constitutional revision. They believe amending Article 9 to include the self-defense forces or to grant emergency powers would undermine peace. They advocate for converting non-regular workers to full-time status within 1 year, reducing the consumption tax to 5%, and ideally 0% in the future. On defense, they view recent increases in military spending as unconstitutional. The JCP supports halving university tuition and eliminating entrance fees. On energy, they aim to eliminate nuclear and coal power by 2030. On social issues, the JCP fully supports the LGBTQ community and women. On immigration, the JCP supports accepting refugees, expanding labor rights for short-term foreign workers, and allowing foreign workers to bring their families regardless of residency status. Diplomatically, the JCP criticizes Japan's dependence on the US and advocates for abolishing the US-Japan Security Treaty. They argue this would free Japan from military entanglements and eliminate host nation support payments, allowing those funds to be redirected domestically. Finally, on political reform, the JCP wants to ban political fundraising parties and abolish public subsidies for political parties. The JCP is the only party that refuses to accept public party funding. The Conservative Party of Japan, or Hoshuto, is Japan's newest political party. It was founded in October 2023 by author Naoki Hyakuta and journalist Kaori Arimoto, primarily in reaction to the passage of the LGBT Understanding Promotion Act. The party is widely considered far-right, given its hardline position on immigration, defense, and traditional family values. In the October 2024 lower house election, the party secured 3 seats, fulfilling the legal requirements to be recognized as a national political party. While still small, the party gained attention after Takashi Kawamura, the mayor of Nagoya and a key ally of the party, won in November 2024. He defeated a candidate jointly backed by the LDP, CDP, Komei, and the DPP by a margin of approximately 18%. Naoki Hyakuta is best known as the author of The Eternal Zero, a novel that romanticizes kamikaze pilots. In November 2024, Hyakuta sparked controversy by proposing extreme and widely condemned policies to address Japan's declining birth rate, banning women over 18 from attending college, prohibiting unmarried women over 25 from marrying, and forcing women over 30 to undergo sterilization. These ideas were heavily criticized, and he later retracted the statements. On constitutional matters, the party supports revising Article 9 by eliminating Clause 2, which prohibits Japan from maintaining military forces. Economically, They proposed lowering the consumption tax from 10% to 8%, with a long-term goal of reducing it to 5%. They advocate for strengthened domestic defense R&D and restrictions on foreigners' land ownership. Hoshuto also supports creating a Japanese version of the Taiwan Relations Act to bolster ties with Taiwan. Socially, the party is opposed to LGBT-related legislation and seeks to eliminate public high school entrance exams to address youth mental health issues. They also advocate revising school history curricula for a more patriotic perspective and ending subsidies for renewable energy in favor of Japan's thermal energy technology. On immigration, the party supports stricter refugee policies and tighter control over foreign student programs for national security reasons. In diplomacy, they promote stronger ties with countries that share values of freedom, democracy, and human rights. Lastly, the party proposes reducing the salaries and allowances of national and local lawmakers to align more closely with those of ordinary citizens. The Do-It-Yourself Party, or Sanseito, is a relatively new political party founded in 2020. The party first gained national attention after winning a seat in the 2022 upper house election, officially qualifying as a national political party under Japanese law. In the 2024 lower house election, it secured 3 seats. The party is widely viewed as far-right due to its nationalist rhetoric, anti-globalist messaging, and opposition to public health measures during the COVID-19 pandemic. Regarding the Constitution, Sanseito does not merely advocate for amendments. They propose rewriting Japan's post-war constitution from scratch to reflect what they call true Japanese values. In terms of the economy, the party aims to cap the combined tax and social insurance burden at 35%, significantly below the current national average of approximately 45.8%. They also support expansionary fiscal and monetary policy and propose raising the spousal tax deduction threshold from 1.03 million to 2.12 million yen, exceeding the DPP's proposal of 1.78 million yen. In terms of defense, Sanseito supports the US-Japan Security Alliance, but also argues that Japan should develop a more independent defense posture, including stronger deterrence capabilities. On immigration, the party promotes a strict stance, warning against what it describes as a silent invasion. They seek to limit the proportion of foreign residents in any community to 5%, tighten naturalization requirements, and limit social welfare to foreigners who have lived in Japan for over a year. On education, Sanseito promotes curricula rooted in Shinto values and Japan's ancestral traditions. They oppose excessive medications and mandatory vaccinations. The party supports legalizing euthanasia, citing the high proportion of medical costs allocated to elderly care. They oppose LGBT legislation and advocate for a traditional family unit. Regarding energy and the environment, Sanseito seeks to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, arguing that Japan's carbon neutrality targets for 2050 are costly and have minimal global impact. They favor using domestic thermal power resources over renewable energy development. Diplomatically, the party is strongly anti-globalization and calls for a more self-sufficient Japan by 2050. In terms of government reform, Sanseito advocates for lowering the voting age to 16 and switching the lower house electoral system to full proportional representation. They also propose reducing the number of Diet members by 30%. The Social Democratic Party, or Shaminto, currently has the smallest presence in national politics, but it was once Japan's largest opposition party. The Shaminto traces its roots to the Japan Socialist Party, which was founded in 1945 and won the most seats in Japan's first post-war election. In response to the JSP's rise, conservative forces united to form the Liberal Democratic Party in 1955. Although the JSP remained the main opposition force for decades, its influence waned as new parties emerged in the 1980s. In 1993, the JSP joined a 7-party coalition to unseat the LDP, but the coalition soon collapsed. In a surprising move, the JSP entered a coalition with the LDP in 1994, leading to JSP leader Tomomichi Murayama becoming prime minister. While historic, this decision caused a sharp decline in the party's support. The JSP rebranded as the Social Democratic Party in 1996, but it never regained its former strength. Today, the SDP holds only 3 seats in the National Diet. The SDP is a progressive, left-leaning party. It strongly opposes constitutional revision and seeks to protect Article 9's pacifist principles. On labor policy, it calls for shorter working hours and a minimum wage of 1,500 yen per hour. The party opposes Japan's rising defense budget, views the military buildup in Okinawa as unconstitutional, and resists preparation for a potential conflict over Taiwan. Instead, the SDP promotes diplomacy and a foreign policy less dependent on the US military influence, aiming to reduce the number of American bases in Japan. In education and welfare, the SDP advocates raising Japan's education spending from 3% to 5% of GDP to align with OECD standards. It also supports stronger protections for the elderly, women, and sexual and gender minorities. On energy policy, the SDP seeks to immediately shut down nuclear power plants and transition to 100% renewable energy by 2050. The party takes a pro-human rights stance on immigration. It supports abolishing nationality requirements for local civil servant recruitment, strengthening support for foreign workers, and improving funding for schools serving non-Japanese students. It also promotes coexistence initiatives like Kawasaki's Foreign Residence Assembly. Lastly, the Social Democratic Party supports political reform to reduce the costs for running for office, including lowering candidate deposit fees and eliminating expensive campaign practices. They advocate for banning political fundraising parties and aim to establish an electoral system that does not favor wealth. To achieve this, the SDP proposes shifting away from the current single-member district system and moving toward a more proportional representation-based electoral system. And those are Japan's 10 national political parties. If we were to map them on a political spectrum, it might look like this. When it comes to lower house representation, here's how the parties perform. Despite their ideological differences, many of these parties share common grounds on issues like strengthening education and improving social welfare. On economic policy, there's also a surprising amount of overlap. We start to see sharper divides in their views on constitutional revision and national defense, especially on how they interpret Japan's relationship with the self-defense forces and the US-Japan Security Alliance. Which party resonates with you the most? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But before you go, there's one more group you might want to keep an eye on, a rising force that could become Japan's 11th national political party, the Path to Rebirth. So let's take a quick look. The Path to Rebirth, or Saisei no Michi, is a regional political party based in Tokyo, founded by Shinji Ishimaru in January 2025. Ishimaru is the former mayor of Akitakata City in Hiroshima Prefecture, and he finished second in the 2024 Tokyo gubernatorial election. Although his party targets the 2025 Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly election, he has also announced plans to field 10 candidates in the 2025 Upper House election, raising the possibility of his regional party going national. In the Tokyo gubernatorial race, Ishimaru received 1.658 million votes. Considering Japan's total population is approximately 124 million, that's about 1.3% of the entire population, a significant figure for a regional candidate. To qualify as a national political party, a group must either have at least 5 direct members or receive 2% of the national vote in the most recent election. With Ishimaru's growing national recognition, Saisei no Michi could potentially clear that threshold. Once a party achieves this status, it becomes eligible for state funding, which can help further its political activities and expand its reach. As for policy direction, education appears to be the core priority. In interviews, Ishimaru has hinted that strengthening education in rural regions could revitalize local communities and reduce overconcentration in Tokyo. The Path to Rebirth has sparked intense debate online, and many are watching closely to see what direction it takes. If you'd like to learn more about this emerging party, check out this video next. But before you go, this video took a lot of time to research and create. If you found it helpful, please like the video. And if you'd like to support my work, donations are always appreciated. You can find a link in my bio. Let me know in the comments if there are any parties you'd like to see covered in more depth. And again, let me know what party resonates with you the most. What do you think Japan needs for change? Like the video if you learned something new, and subscribe to learn more about Japanese politics.